Hello, and welcome to Books and Beyond. My name is Jimmy Bennett. I'm your host. Books and Beyond is the show where we try to help people personify their aspirations. Before I get into the show, one thing I'd like to mention is the Southeastern Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association. Anybody that has anything to do with the written word, it's a great organization, it's a great resource, it's great networking, and a lot of great people and a lot of good authors. So you can find them on the web, or you can find them on Facebook at the Southeastern Connecticut chapter of the Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association, CAPA. All right, well, so as you know already, I'm an author myself. I've written 4 books in the William Gillette series. And so today, it's a very special show for me. My guest today will be Lynn Wilkinson, the president of the Friends of Gillette Castle State Park organization.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Welcome, Lynn. How
Thank
you doing?
I'm good, Jimmy. Thank you.
Okay, Lynn's here to talk to us about the castle. Tell us a little bit about it. I obviously have been, fascinated with the place. 4 books worth anyway so far.
A lot of people share your
enthusiasm.
enthusiasm.
So tell us about the park. Tell the folks out here what you're all about.
Great, thank you. As you know, Gillette Castle is a state park in Connecticut, and we have a photo to start with of the castle itself. And you can tell from the photo, part of what makes Gillette Castle State Park special is a really unique and quirky structure that is the home, or was the retirement home, of William Gillette many years ago. And you can tell just by looking at that photograph that you're going to have a special experience. It's really unique and unusual, and it's unusual not just on the outside, but it's unusual on the inside.
Well, I just jump in real quick. I'll tell you, a lot of people, when I talk to them about Gillette's Castle, say, "Oh, I went there when I was a kid," or "I went there on a field trip." And they haven't been back or hadn't been there. But let me tell you, folks, when you drive onto that property, it is just, you'll just like say to yourself, why don't I come up here every weekend?
Yeah.
Or why don't I come up here often?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's a real experience, and it's lovely. And the castle's only open in the summer, but the other part of the park is the outside and the actual 127 acres. And one of the things that makes the park itself special is illustrated in the next photograph. And it's a photograph of Gillette next to the narrow gauge trail, a narrow gauge train that he used to run around the castle to amuse himself and to amuse his visitors. And there are 3 miles of trails that used to be where the train used to run. They're all really beautiful and wide and level, and there's lots of historic structures that Gillette built to make the train ride more amusing that you see on the trails. So tunnels and bridges and trestles and things like that. So in addition to having a beautiful castle, we've got lots and lots of beautiful trails for people to enjoy at their leisure.
Yeah, a lot of beautiful grounds too, a lot of ponds.
Yeah.
A lot of walkways.
Yep.
The stonework is incredible everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, when you just look at it, you think of the scope of the work that went into it.
Yeah, Gillette really loved stone, really used a lot of local stone, I believe, in building the castle.
Yeah.
It makes it really fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about William Gillette.
So I thought I'd introduce William Gillette by showing a picture of someone who is not William Gillette, but of someone who is interpreting William Gillette. And it's a photo of Theodore. That's actually, Theodore's on the right, and Harold's on the left in that photograph. And Harold and Theodore are historical interpreters of William and Helen Gillette. And they come to the castle on weekends during the summer from 2 to 4 on Sunday. And they help entertain and educate visitors about who William Gillette is and was. And you can tell by looking at that photograph, I don't even need to say any more other than showing the photograph what made Gillette special. So as anyone looking at the show can tell, he's playing Sherlock Holmes in this photograph. And That was the core of what made William Gillette important during his time. And he contributed a lot to the character. Things like "elementary, my dear Watson," that phrase
was actually his phrase.
was
yes.
actually his phrase. He used it, "elementary, my dear fellow," but it's become "elementary, my dear Watson."
Yep.
So really important as the first actor.
He also
to really
introduced
bring him.
the deerstalker cap
And the deerstalker cap.
and the
yes.
metric bomb pipe.
Yes. Yeah.
So much, I think so much we see, pictures that we see of Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
displayed all over the place really are based on William Gillette.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one thing I've seen. I met the Nivers one time. We did an event down in Mystic at the
Yep.
Baptist Church, and it was fascinating.
Oh, they're delightful.
And they have it down.
Yeah, they
I
do.
mean,
Yeah.
They know their stuff.
They live and breathe.
Yes,
William
they do.
Gillette. Yeah.
So,
and they make it
if
fun.
you get a chance, you want to run into them because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really quite great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I have a little more about
Okay.
Gillette, if that's
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
because everybody, I think he's very popular because of Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
And that was, and I said it's the core, but I also wanted to reflect how important he was for American theater in general, and
Yeah.
not everybody knows. Yeah, you're aware of this. American theater before Gillette's time was very melodramatic, very overdone, very theatrical, and you wouldn't be confused. You'd know you're looking at a play as opposed to looking at anything real. And Gillette had a phrase called "the illusion of the first time," and that was his goal, was to make theater goers believe that they were actually seeing something happen for the first time. And that was really different. That really pivoted American theatrical, the approach of American theater. And before Gillette, American theater was sort of looked down on, especially in Britain and other English language speaking countries. It wasn't viewed as good theater, but Gillette brought realism into his plays, and in particular a play that he wrote about Sherlock Holmes, and it was well received in Britain and just really brought American theater to the international audience.
he actually had a couple patent too on
Yes.
some sound devices,
Yeah.
and he was a writer, director. He was, he was a big deal.
He was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I'll steal a joke that the Nivers put into their educational bit. He wrote the play. He figured out that if he wrote the play, produced the play, and then starred in the play, all the money would come to him.
Yeah. Yep.
And so he was a very wealthy guy. It's what enabled him to build that retirement home, and enabled him to really customize it to be exactly what he wanted in really quirky ways, as you know. Yeah.
Yeah, there was much more to the man.
Yes.
He was a private man, and so a lot of this didn't come out till lately, and or in the archives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So let's get to. I want to talk about the Friends of Gillette Castle State Park.
Yep.
Now, what is your organization? What do we do?
Yeah. I think I'll start by talking about how Gillette Castle became a state park. It wasn't the Friends of Gillette, but it was similar in a sense. So when Gillette passed away, he left the estate to family members. And in the 30s and 40s, they realized they had to sell the property, and they couldn't keep it up themselves, and they were looking to sell the property to somebody else. And it could have gone to any number of, fates ultimately. Gillette did have some constraints in his will, but it could have gone to a private buyer and might not be available for you and I and the public to enjoy. What happened was the state of Connecticut joined up with the Connecticut Forest and Parks Association to purchase the property from Gillette's heirs, so that it could become a state park and be accessible to everybody, and give pleasure without constraint, if you like, to visit the park. And that was a state collaboration with a nonprofit, Connecticut Forest and Parks Association, to deliver that. And the Friends of Gillette Castle, I like to think we're carrying on in that tradition. So we're a fully volunteer organization dependent on donations and memberships, but we partner with the state to try to enhance the visitor experience, try to help the state in restoring and maintaining the castle and preserving the legacy of William Gillette.
Now, just for people that maybe haven't been there or not aware of it, the significance of this property, and it sits on a bluff above the Connecticut River, and the views are absolutely spectacular. And then from the castle, I mean, they're even greater. But this isn't just your, run-of-the-mill acres somewhere. It sits on a series of hills called the Seven Sisters. And it's 127 acres. So, but it is just gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
That's what I don't think a lot of people realize. If you go and you sit up and you look out, it is incredible. It's incredible. And the whole grounds are beautiful, anyways. But where it's located, right now, it's Hadlime, right?
It's in Hadlime, Connecticut, which is a small little area that sits in between Lyme and East Haddam. So that's Hadlime.
Hadlime,
and there's a beautiful little ferry that you get to see that crosses the river. That it's just
a historical ferry. We'll talk about that in a bit. But that's I happened to be up there one time at sunset. And it was a near religious experience. I mean, it was incredible. I could see why the man decided to build it there.
Well, and what's remarkable, as you know, the river is not developed. So you're looking at a real river with, very few houses, no factories, nothing.
I was incredibly surprised by that. You would think that property would have been snapped up and there'd be condos all over the place and marinas and it's just, but it's still pristine. It's gorgeous.
It's part of what makes the Connecticut River special.
So how does the Friends of Gillette's Castle State Park work? How does your organization?
So I'd say our mission sort of has two, maybe three arms, depending on how you want to describe it. I'll start by saying we do like to follow in the tradition of the Connecticut Forest and Park Association, and so we advocate for the park with legislature when we can, when we have opportunities to do that. We serve as an advocate. But the other two arms are helping the state preserve and protect the property. The state absolutely has primary responsibility for the building, right? We can't possibly, it costs millions, and the state does put substantial money into keeping the building together. But we can help every now and then on projects that use a lot of labor, and if it doesn't require a lot of skills, that's a place where we can come in and help preserve and protect the castle. And then the other place we contribute is through promoting and enhancing the visitor experience, making sure people know about the castle, people are aware that there's a lot of interesting activities and things going on, and enticing people to come visit the castle.
Right.
So that's.
I know this spring you held a few trail cleaning hikes and walks. Didn't another organization came in? Didn't a company come? A bunch of volunteers came and fixed up one of the train station areas.
That was what I think of as the flagship effort of the Friends of Gillette Castle was several years ago. We restored the train, one of Gillette's trains, and that sits in the visitor center.
And then, but down in the woods where the old, I think he called it Penn Station. There was a lot
125th Street. And
125th
Grand
Street.
Central.
There was a lot of rubble, but they came in and they straightened it all up and got it walkable and safe, which is which is incredible for people going out hiking and
and that's 125th Street is one of my favorite places, especially in the summer, because in the winter when there's no tree leaves, because you have a beautiful view over the river. It's gorgeous.
That must have been that is a really nice really nice area.
Yeah.
So what kind of restoration projects are going on at the castle now?
Yeah. So I'll start with a small one, which I just I think of as really fun, and it's a nice example of how we can do small things that have a big impact, or have a moderate impact on the visitor experience. And this is a story of a clock that we repaired. And I'll start by saying that when you're in the living room of Gillette's home, there's a clock that is a real antique Seth Thomas clock that was in the living room when Gillette was there, we believe. And it's a pendulum clock, and it makes a noise that's very different from normal clocks today, right? Because it's so slow. It's not tick, 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 tick. It's tick, tock, tick, tock.
Yep.
And you can sort of come into the castle and you realize that things are a little different in the castle. Time is not what it was or what it is today. And last year that clock stopped ticking, it stopped working. And we were on a tour of the castle with the park supervisor, and he mentioned the clock, mentioned that it had stopped working, and suggested that maybe investigating a clock repair organization might be something that the Friends might want to do, because there aren't many clock repair places anymore, and it could take some time to figure out the right place to get the clock repaired. And as it happened, on that tour was Ed Markunis, who's pictured working on the clock. It turns out he's got a collection of hundreds of clocks, and repairing antique clocks is his hobby. Wow. And Jack Hine gave us permission to look at the clock, just to assess the clock. We didn't, have permission to really do a lot with the clock, but absolutely open it up, see what's there. Does it require a lot of work, or could it be simple as part of research in repairing it? And so Ed opened it up under the watchful eyes of Sarah Lucy, who's one of our guides, interpretive guides. And it turns out that all it needed was a cleaning. And the supervisor said, sure, absolutely, do a cleaning. We took it somewhere else to actually do the cleaning, somewhere else inside the castle, and closed it up and put it back on the wall, and it works just beautifully. And visitors now have the tick-tock of the old antique clock.
That is nice.
Yeah.
And that is, I would point out that is one feature. The castle itself is incredible.
Yeah.
Every door handle, every window opener, fastener is separate and made by Gillette personally.
Yes.
All with unique designs. All
yeah.
47 doors are different.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nooks and crannies, and it's really fascinating inside the castle. As beautiful the grounds are, and even just walking around it inside is quite fascinating. Something you really want to see.
Yeah.
And just incredible to see how a person could live in that era, like that. Now, what other projects are going on? I know there's a few others going on too, right?
Yeah, so another one that I think we're pretty proud of, that I don't have any photos for, but it illustrates how we're a volunteer-driven organization. There was a woman, Samantha Van June from Chester, who went through the castle last summer, and her perspective when she came to this conservatory that used to have a lot of plants in it, we had plants, but it wasn't really lush. It wasn't really reflective of what it might have been when Gillette was there. And she loves plants. And she called us up and said, we'd love to, is it okay if I help, bring some more plants in and really rejuvenate this conservatory? And absolutely, we'd love to have you come in and help rejuvenate the conservatory. And we hooked her up with Jamie Burgess of the East Haddam Garden Club. And Samantha in particular got donations of plants from all over the community. I mean, there were dozens and dozens of people who contributed plants to help, really make this conservatory shine. And when the castle opens up this summer, it's going to be a completely different conservatory than it was a year ago.
I love that room. It's got it still has the waterfall too. It's got the it's got the waterfall that comes down from the ceiling to the little pond.
Yeah.
Where Gillette used to actually keep
frogs, I think, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always thought that was a fascinating story, that he kept a couple of frogs in there, and when one died or the cats got to him or whatever, him and Ozaki would just go down to the frog pond, hunt around, and
get some more frogs.
It's kind of thing to see a middle-aged man, wealthy, successful actor like that, walking around in the mud looking for
frogs.
For a new frog.
Yeah, I need frogs. Yeah.
But it's just a little piece of the man. It's kind of nice.
And cats everywhere, as you very much know.
I think they said at one point he might have had 17.
I think so.
There's a lot of cat tapestries.
Yes.
If you're a cat lover, you'll appreciate a lot of the decorations in the castle.
He would invite cats to dinner.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So,
I've heard that.
Oh yeah, a little invitation.
That main table in the thing had the little tassels hanging off it.
Yes.
It looks like a Mexican sombrero almost, with the little tassels all around the edge, and that was for the cats to play with. I always thought it was a weird design. I said,
it's fascinating, but once you know it was for the cats, you understand.
Yeah. Is there any other projects going on, or hopes, dreams?
Yeah, I think we have a picture of of an effort that we did just yesterday, actually. Which is a sign that...
There it is.
Yes. So that sign, as you can tell, it's right in front of the castle, or in a good location relative to the castle. And it explains that William Gillette was famous for playing Sherlock Holmes. And that sign fell down several years ago. And it took a while to figure out how to make sure it was set up properly and in a way that we could maintain it, and make sure that we could fix things when they needed. And just this weekend, we put everything in place. The picture there is actually a picture of a high school student who created that sign. She did a reproduction of the original sign that had been there, and she did it when she was 16 years old. And she's right there putting the finishing touches and making sure it's all level, with Jack Hine, who's the park supervisor.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that. That's
it was a high school. Another example of how the community really rallies to set things up. So really nice.
I was fascinated. I've talked to a lot of people in that area, and how many local people have connections to the castle. Whether their grandfather worked there, or their great uncle used to sell rock, sold some of the farmers that sold the rock to Gillette to build the castle.
Yes,
it's kind of amazing.
Wow.
You think about it, but at that time in the 1919s when he moved in, so at that time it must have been, it was like building the Sears Tower in the middle of Mystic or something. It was like, whoa.
Well, just the engineering to really make it all work was amazing.
Right.
Yeah. And he had very good ties with the local community, I think.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised that there's still a lot of people around that you run into that.
They're very fond of it. They're very proud of it. I mean, I suppose like a lot of places that have monuments and stuff around it, we're proud of things in Mystic and the Seaport and the aquarium, and but Gillette's Castle is just it's unique.
Yeah.
It is really a jewel of the state. So, what is coming up? Quickly, let's talk about what's coming up for.
So I talked a little bit about events that we run. So let's talk about the next big one, which is actually it's medium-sized event, but I think it'll be fun. We had a gala several years ago, which was a 1920s themed gala, and people came and dressed up. And what we're going to do this year is a 1920s picnic. And we're inviting models. We have photographers and people who enjoy dressing up and having their photo taken. And we're going to make picnic baskets available that you can purchase on our website. And we're hoping to just relive the spirit of 1920s
Nice.
at the castle.
That should be a lot of fun.
I think it will be a lot of fun. Yeah, and we're hoping for good weather. But
And now the castle's going to open up on Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend.
And that's
yep.
when we can take tours inside the castle.
Yes.
And
yes.
it'll go through Labor Day.
Yep. Yep.
And then
Every day of the week through Labor
Right.
Day. Yeah.
7 days a week. And
Yep.
then after that, it'll be weekends, right? Till Columbus Day.
Yes. Weekends only through. And Columbus Day is sort of the middle of October.
I think, maybe there'll be like some local authors doing some signings up
We
there this
might
summer.
have a local author.
I'm just
or two
asking for a
doing-
friend. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying. But,
absolutely.
yeah, I'm
yes.
very much looking forward to that.
Well-
getting up to the castle this year
Yeah.
and things. And so, real quick, you brought a few things from the souvenir shop.
Well, yeah, we have another thing we do to try to enhance the visitor experience is make sure that people can take something away with them. And so we have Friends of Gillette Castle State Park logo there. Or that's actually not Friends of Gillette Castle. This is a Gillette Castle
State.
souvenir. But all the proceeds go to supporting the Friends of Gillette, and the money eventually goes into the castle. And this is actually a picnic blanket that you can carry around, and it's got a waterproof backing. We have
Very nice.
champagne glasses, and I've brought a little mug, Gillette Castle
Nice.
mug. So we try to make sure that people have the ability to, and many lovely books from
Yes,
authors near and far.
I am proud that my books are available up there.
Yeah.
They are about the castle and,
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we're happy to have them. Yeah.
So I can't stress enough. I want to thank you so much for coming on
Thank
today.
you.
It was
Yeah.
it was a great show, and I hope to do a few more.
Yeah.
We're going to do some up at the castle, so
Yeah,
stay
I hope
tuned.
so,
We'll let you know when. And I just can't stress enough what a jewel this piece of property
Yeah.
is for our state. And I think it's incredible. I did, in full closure, I did join the Friends of Gillette Society.
sir. Yeah.
I encourage everybody to do so.
Yeah.
It is just take a ride up and see it, because you'll just be absolutely stunned. Even what you might have remembered from your field trip when you were a kid, or
Yeah.
when your mother took you when you were 10, it just, you'll look at it in a whole nother way now, and just look at the scope of that property.
Yeah.
And once you get inside the castle, you'll just be dumbfounded.
Yeah, it really is a treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do a beautiful job at Christmas time decorating.
Oh, that's a
also,
big deal,
That's a
yes.
big deal. So the holidays is wonderful. And now, especially, things seems to be easing up with the pandemic a little bit.
Yep.
So it should be a lot more open now, and should be a lot easier to get around, and you feel a little safer,
Yeah.
but
Though I think it's really important to say people should buy their tickets in advance, because the restrictions on entrance to the castle isn't COVID, it's actually fire code.
Right.
They can only have 50 people at a time.
Right.
So it's timed entry tickets, and it
Oh, that's the-
frequently sells out.
that's a good point.
So
Yeah.
purchase tickets in
I mean, you'd be
advance.
surprised. We went up yesterday. We actually drove up to the castle.
Yeah.
We went for the ferry ceremony that
Yes.
the Friends of Gillette Castle had, and so I just said, "Well, let's take a ride up and take a look." And the parking lot was packed.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it was a nice, it was a nice day. It was sunny, but still, there's a lot of hikers, joggers, runner, bikers. So.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was Books and Beyond for today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.